I thought last week we were running out of time. This week we are for real running out of time because I only have 1 week left. Today is Wednesday, the 16th of April, and next week, next Wednesday, 7 days from now, I need to have the second gen Cyclone on a trailer, and we need to be driving out west to Vegas, where we're going to be competing in the Grand Champion truck class at LS Fest West. Now, we're in the middle of a supercharger install on the second gen Cyclone because we want to make lots of horsepower, but we are missing one critical component, and US Customs may have just tanked this entire project. We overnighted a blower snout. It looks sort of like this, but is sized a little bit differently. And it came from Australia, and it made it all the way into the United States, into Chicago, where it has stopped. Tracking doesn't show any updates, and we have no ETA of when it's going to arrive. And when we call up, they just say, sorry, it's stuck in customs. And I don't know much about that process, but I know that's maybe not a good thing. Thankfully, that's not a holdup right now. We still have some work that needs to be done. So I'll just get you caught up on what we've completed since last time. So you saw we got the blower and the tub just kind of sitting in place at the end of the last video, but it's all torqued down now. The rails are on, the injectors are in. We built our fuel line. We have a inlet air temp sensor installed. We have the map sensor back there, and the entire accessory drive is on, minus the blower pulley itself because obviously it's not there. We have a throttle cable and bracket on the way. And most of what we need to do today actually has to do with the heat exchanger system, which removes heat from the compressed air. We also wrapped this up last time, or at least we did all the fabrication on it. Since then I did a leak check and I painted it so it's ready to install. Water pump we got installed. This is an EWP 150, pretty big capacity water pump. I built a bracket for it, started out with a Motion Raceworks one, added a little bit of length to it and got some little struts on there, and it fits nicely underneath the core support. And then the heat exchanger has plenty of room so nothing fits, or hits rather. And I guess the big thing that we need to do right now is I just need to get a tank built. So I have an idea. I know where I'm gonna build it. I just need to get some cardboard, mock it up, and then we'll build it from aluminum. So let's jump right in and pray to the car gods that our parts show up. Who would have thought arts and crafts would come in handy? Now, it might seem a little bit crazy taking all this time to build a custom tank at the last minute, but really this is the best option that I could come up with. Initially, I thought I had a little bit more room. I bought a universal square tank. That, of course, wasn't going to work. Then I figured I could find one of those current performance aluminum radiator expansion tanks for the S10, but they're out of stock and nobody has one that I could buy. So I'm making my own, and I decided against building a custom tank here because for a couple reasons. One, I would have to then figure out something else for the overflow for the radiator, and space is also tight over here when we have the air filter in place. And so this is kind of what I came up with. This is the rough draft, and now that I'm seeing it in 3 dimensions, I've got a little bit of tweaking that I'm gonna do. Like this, for example, has to be down a little bit. I'm gonna lean this ahead at an angle ever so slightly. Just anything I can do to sneak a little more volume in there. But that's kind of it. And it's not as big as I would like, but it's actually a lot bigger than like the one I used on Copo truck, just those little generic like pint sized ones. So now that we have it mocked up, I'll make the quick corrections, but I think it'll go pretty quick building this from aluminum because it's mostly just flat sheets and then we'll weld it together. I did pick up preemptively from Amazon one of these just universal aluminum weld on caps. That's going to sit up there. And then probably we'll paint it with the with that wrinkled black spray paint that I do everything like the intake tubes and things with. So I think we're on a roll. So let's turn that into metal. I'm trying out a new marker. Saw these on Amazon, and they have that really long extended tip for like marking inside of holes and stuff. So I thought it could be useful. If they turn out to be any good, I'll put a link below the video and you guys can get some too. More pipes. Just like so. All right, it's time for the night shift. It's 6:53 p.m. I got the tank mostly tack welded together except for the top and this bottom panel, both of which are gonna have a fitting in them. So I'm just gonna hang tight, but I'll try to finish weld the rest of this before I go home tonight. All right, tank's coming along nicely. We have everything done for the main structure except for the top. It's still kind of warm. So this is our lid. We bought one of these little billet deals from Amazon, so that's how we're gonna fill it up. Comes with a fancy lid. And then all we have to do is get a mount tab built on the back. We have to have our return port and our suction port, which will be down there. All right, guys, we had to pop home in the middle of the day because our package just arrived. Now this is the most important piece of the puzzle, the 2300 straight snout. This is not from Harrop. This is a Motion Raceworks throttle cable and bracket because the one we have is not long enough. And then we also got a couple of extra goodies. We have a 70 millimeter and a 65 millimeter supercharger pulley. That's awesome because there's an 80 on there right now, and if we want to turn things up a little bit more, well, that 2300 has plenty of headroom, and now we have the pulleys to do it. So let's head back to the shop and get these parts on. About 30 minutes later, we're at the shop, we're doing a test fit, and let me tell you what, guys, this is like the tightest clearance that you could get while still having everything work. It's like we're getting lucky here. The blower snout showed up today, and we shouldn't have to do any additional clearance work to make this thing go together. And worth mentioning is the 2650 and the 2300 FDFI units. They're not really intended to be used with a drive-by cable throttle body. So most of the tight clearance issues that we have are because of that. Where if we had like a LS2 or an LS3 drive-by wire throttle body, we'd have a mile of room. But here's what we got. So the first spot where it's tight is right here where the throttle arm goes next to the CTSV large diameter upper tensioner. If I can get the right angle, we'll kind of zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's tight, but it clears. There's about, I'd say a good 3/8 to 7/16 of an inch, so that's great. The other spot is where the inlet comes right on top of this 8 PK idler. It's tight, but I get like a good finger's width in between there. This is the one I was worried about, is the throttle position sensor. It's gonna clear, and we'll just have to make sure that the wires are kind of tucked back. And I don't know if I can get a good camera angle where it'll focus, but you'd have to trust me. It's like down below and in front of. So it's tight. If we do a smaller pulley, that may become an issue, and we'll explore some solutions there, but I think we're all right. And the only other thing is on top here where this big chunk is on the Holley throttle body, that I need to do just a little more trimming on the hood. But obviously we're not afraid to trim the hood. So it is just mocked up now. Obviously there's no sealant in there and it's sticking back a little bit, but we are good to go, guys. So if everything wraps up today like I think it will, we should hear this thing run in the next couple hours. Get flash bass tune on, a few other things, but oh, I'm so pumped, guys. It's our lucky day. Don't want to get any of the sealant in that dowel pin there. This stuff will act like Loctite. You never get it apart if you wanted to. Now we are going to start out with the 80 millimeter pulley. It's the largest diameter, but it's going to have the lowest boost level of the three that we have to select from. And we can always put a smaller one on and crank up the boost, but the belt I have ordered should fit with this one. So we're going to pop off this little support brace slash cover that goes over the 3 pulley idler deal. That way we can get our belt in. I mean, just look at it. All right, we are going to have to get a little shorter belt because the tensioner basically is all the way loose. But at least we have a starting point with the 80745 HD belt. So tonight's going to be another late night. We have the tank done, like the tank itself, but we need to get the suction side fitting on. That's going to pull coolant from the bottom of the tank, go straight to the inlet of the pump. And then we're going to have another one here to return the coolant after it's gone through the heat exchanger into the tank. Ideally, I'd want to return it a little bit higher, but just based on the constraints that we're working with, we cannot do that. But the good thing is any little air bubbles that may form here, they're just going to collect up top and we should be fine. So let's get to welding. Try to get some sleep tonight.
6.5 hours later.
Alrighty guys, if you take a peep at the clock over there, it is 10:51 at night, and we have just finished up, I think, the very last weld on our tank project. So I got a bracket on the side, bracket on the top. I'll show you all that in the morning. I'm tired, I'm gonna go home and sleep. But tomorrow, I think we're gonna start up the Cyclone for the first time. Maybe. Just like that, it's the next morning and our tank is 100% done. This, I mean, honestly, I've got a day and a half in this whole project, like start to finish, which is kind of absurd with the timeline that we have going on, but it had to be done because I didn't want to just throw on one of those like little universal plastic tanks. I would have wanted to redo it anyway. So now we have a permanent solution. I put some effort into this. I did get a little bit sloppy towards the end just because it was getting so late. But we've got a couple of rivet insert nuts here that's going to attach to the battery tray. I've got a tab up here. I'm going to build just one more brace that's going to bolt on to the core support to stop it from like wanting to tip that way. That'll hold it, you know, from tipping front to back. So good solid mount. We got our 1-inch inlet and return. And in the overnight, we also received our new belts. Again, time crunch stuff here. I grabbed the 3 lengths and they're all 8 ribs, but this is the only green heavy duty one. So hopefully this is the right one. It's the middle length. That's the dimension there if you're interested, but we'll try to get those belts swapped out, get the coolant tank on, and then I think before I even bother plumbing all the hoses and stuff, I just want to fire this thing up. So we'll get the base tune in and see if it starts. All right. 73 3/8. Maybe that's the magic number. Well, it's promising. It's actually inside the 2 marks, but just barely. So we'll call this a maybe. That's the ticket. Right in the middle of the sweet spot on the tensioner. And of course we fire up the tuning laptop and it's doing an update. So we'll be back with that shortly. All right, so we just have a few changes that we got to make to get this thing fired up, mainly for different parts that we've changed. Number 1, injectors. Thankfully Lance provided all the injector data, which rumor has it these come from a GM calibrator, Mr. Greg. So anyway, that's really awesome. We have to change for the 3-bar map sensor that's now in the truck. We have to change for the different IAT sensor that's in the Supercharger tub. That's scaled slightly different than the old MAF sensor. And other than that, we'll just, you know, get the base tune sorted out. So I've actually been running the truck for quite a while on a 2-bar speed density tune, flex fuel, and it's had a 1-bar map sensor on it, which that all works out just fine. So this will be the first time the truck sees boost though. Obviously, it still needs to be tuned properly, but it runs. That right there makes all the late nights worth it. Now, obviously, we're not close to done yet. We're not ready for a test drive, but major milestone. That's the boost that we needed. Get it? Boost? All right, it's Friday afternoon. I am dragging today. I stayed up late last night. not as young as I used to be, so those late nights definitely get to you. But at least today I want to get finished up with like all the fab work. So I think really all I have left is this bracket here for the top of the coolant tank that we just built. And then I have like 2 fittings that I've got to weld up for the inlet and outlet of the water pump. And I think that's like the last welding. And if I can get through that today, I'll be golden. It's like 4 p.m. right now. We got a dinner appointment at 6. So tonight I'm going home, I'm getting some rest, and then Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. Those are the 4 work days that I have left. We're gonna hit it hard. We're gonna try to get this thing done. But got to finish some welding first. $4:45 p.m. Getting down to the wire for the dinner date. These are 16 AN ORB to 12 AN adapters for the inlet and outlet of the water pump. I'm running 1-inch hose on everything, so instead of buying a 16 AN ORB to 1-inch barb, which are like 40, 50 bucks a piece, I'm gonna take the ones that Lance sent me, chop them off, weld that on. Shoes are filled with grinding shavings. That little piece is going to be the temperature of the sun. I'm just going to do something like that. I want both of those sort of heading parallel. This one won't be quite that long, but basically that's going to allow the suction to go from here right up to the tank, and then the pressure feed is going to go right through that opening there and up to the heat exchanger in the supercharger. $4:28 in the afternoon, Saturday the 19th of March. That is the current date and time. Now I need to go home. I need to edit this video so you guys can see it tomorrow or Sunday. It'll be today for you guys, I suppose. I have to leave on Wednesday, which is just a couple of days from now, which basically means we have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 3 days to finish up the cyclone. And thankfully we got the snout in. Thankfully we fired the truck up. And also thankfully we have now the heat exchanger system pretty well in place. We got to put all the clamps on the hoses and stuff. This kind of kicked my butt for the last couple of hours, actually, just getting all these hoses routed. There was a lot of times when I was just like thinking I'm going to give up, I'm going to go home and I'll fix it the next day. But like I can't do that too many more days because obviously we are running out of time. But I persisted, I got everything mocked up, and now really for the heat exchanger system, all I got to do is put a couple of clamps and all the fittings and stuff like that, fill it up with fluid, got to wire the pump. And then as far as the rest of the little stuff, it's kind of to the point of the project where it's a lot of little things, but individually each of them should be fairly quick. And some of them we can even, as much as it's going to kill my OCD, some of them we can put off to a later date. Like for example, the wiring here, I just got an extension on the TPS, and obviously this is like kind of janky looking, but with a couple of zip ties, that'll at least get us through an event, and then if I have to, I'll come back after the event. I'd like to do it before, but at least this will get us by. We have to get our throttle cable installed. I picked up a cable and a bracket from Motion Raceworks. I picked up a catch can, which that's kind of one of those wish list items. I might just skip that for now. I do need to build an intake tube to go from here to about here. The other tube I built for the naturally aspirated phase of the project, that'll still work. I just got to, attach it to here. Other than that, it's just like top off the fluid for the heat exchanger, test drive, tuning, and I think we got this in the bag. It's like, this project is going to kill me, guys, but I am determined to make it. So I guess the next upload you guys see will either be at Vegas, participating in the Grand Champion truck class and probably kicking some butt, or I guess if we don't make it to that, I'm just gonna I'm gonna sleep for a week straight. So, but we're gonna be in Vegas and we're gonna be competing, guys, so come back soon. Oh yeah, and then we have this to deal with. Springtime snowstorm.